Hello, everyone. You are at the gathering room, and I'm Ro. And where's Martha? She's not here. What's going on? Well, actually, it's very exciting because we have a special guest, and I'm going to shoot you straight over to her now. There you go.
Are we on?
You're on.
Are we visible?
Yeah.
We are visible. Is that Wendy from Guelph already with us? Wendy pounces like a raptor. She's Wendy from Guelph, rocking it. Guelph is an amazing.
Introduce your guest, Martha.
All through the Divine Comedy. He hates the Guelphs.
What is the Guelph?
It's a political party in Renaissance Italy, or like medieval 13th century.
Is that where
Italy.
Wendy lives?
Wendy, are you from 13th century Italy? Are you here as a politician? Hi, Donna. See,
Chicago.
Donna always like tries to get in before Wendy, but it almost never happens.
can do it.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, Karen.
I get so excited.
Hello, Monica from
Mexico. So good. And from
Casey from North Carolina.
didn't you just go to North Carolina?
I went South Carolina.
Oh.
Which is very similar.
Ben Javon. Javon. Isn't that
Javon.
beautiful? Did you know that's how it's spelled?
Jane.
Sun City, Arizona. It's Jean May.
Laurel. Hi, Laurel. Yay.
Do we have, let's see, we have, hi Martha from New Orleans.
Breaking news.
Wait, what? Go back.
Wait.
What is,
That's just nonsense. Why would Liz Gilbert be?
I have no
She's
idea.
sick at home in bed.
She is in fact sick at home in bed.
Hi, Jan.
On our couch.
It is fun. I came over here to be sick with this family.
We're all sick in so many ways. Do we have 155 people on already, right? Hi from upstate New York.
She's in the upstate.
Upstate.
Mesa.
My old Arizona stomping grounds. Hi, Gia.
Why
Gia.
are we
Oh,
not
hi.
in Aruba?
From Aruba. Hi, how are you? It's been so long.
Why
but
are
it's
we
good to
not
see
in
you.
Aruba with
I
Gia or
don't know,
Gia?
but I met her there, and she was amazing. And she was
Now I'm sad.
she
not to be
chaperoned
in
me.
Aruba.
Wow, those were the
Hi,
days.
Donna.
All right, I think we've got over 183. I think I should start. So we're talking about, over to you. We were talking about what should we say on the gathering room? Because I said, I'm going to do the gathering room. And Liz said, I want to do the gathering room. So I said, okay, we said we were going to talk about the holidays and how not to let them drive you completely off, mentally insane. And you were telling me what Ram Dass said.
Ram Dass has a great line about the holidays where he says, if you think that you finally reached enlightenment, just go home and spend Thanksgiving with your family.
Yeah.
In other words, it is the final frontier.
It is.
And I think there's some grace in that, in terms of like recognizing that you may fail.
Yeah, and
And
what
that,
Glennon said
Like,
also.
and then Glennon, our dear friend Glennon, also has a great thing that she posts every year about the holidays, where people say to her, I can't believe I can't even be relaxed around my own family. And she's like, oh, that is so the wrong understanding. The family is not the place where you go to relax. It's the final frontier. If you can actually be relaxed around those people, then you can be relaxed in any situation whatsoever. And again, there's some grace in recognizing that you might fail.
You might fail. In fact,
You might lose your shit.
The first thing you should do to avoid going completely mentally insane about the holidays is accept that you probably will. And the moment you accept, you stop struggling against the insanity and allow it to be what it is. You're one level less crazy.
Yes.
Which is a significant gain. And then there's another, the dogs always go nuts when we start doing the
I
gathering
brought my
room.
dog over and they're doing obscene things to
They
each
do
other.
obscene things right in front of us as we do. We're like, we do this
It's like a
spiritual
1980s
broadcast.
bathhouse. in
It
New
is.
York.
It is. They have no morals whatsoever. Oh my God. It's getting, they somehow know we're broadcasting and they
They've
immediately,
been totally quiet all day, but now they're like,
they're
oh,
full on porno, which kind of, I mean, that is one of the things. Let me factor that in. Where's a pen? But here, you write that onto the
okay,
square.
I will.
Okay, so
Also,
I
I
was
was
going
going
to
to ask Marty if she would talk about holiday gathering bingo, dysfunctional family.
Yeah,
bingo.
we're going to do that in a minute because I think we've done it before, but it's always worth reminding. So the first thing I was going to say was this big breakthrough came for me when I was taught to be a participant observer as a sociologist, because you're sent into a situation and you have to pretend I'm going to go back and write this up in a paper about the cultural influence of blah, blah, blah in this. Literally, it's gotten so
You keep talking
here.
about anthropology. Hey.
Of the people in the room went up and the dogs just freak out. So here's the thing. Go back and tell to someone else, you know you're not really in the system. And one thing that you can do is watch the system. Like, I am going to go back and describe to my friends how truly nuts my family is, or how truly irritating or whatever. The other thing you can do is notice what's going on in yourself, because if the only thing that keeps us from expressing our true nature is culture, okay, culture versus nature, you would just do what's natural to you, like these dogs humping each other's brains out as soon as your energy comes in the room. You could do that, except culture tells you not to. And culture will pull you off your natural reactions to the point where it becomes unbearable. And your family is the place of deepest acculturation. And the holidays are periods where culture takes over everything. And what you should look for is the word should. I challenge you to watch your own mind and watch the people around you for any version of the thought you should or I should. So if it's I should be in cleaning up with the girls while the boys watch football, and suddenly I become a feminist and I'm very angry. If my mother thinks I should be eating less pie, if I believe that all the shoulds around Thanksgiving are true in any way, I start to lose my truth. I start to lose my nature. But if I'm watching the culture and I'm just sort of like analyzing it and setting up a really good short story for later, somehow you get the same perspective you do in meditation when you become the compassionate witness. And that is the sane part of you. That is the true nature part of you. And you can go along with everything and you can even be caught in it. But as long as there's a watcher present, you won't lose your anchor. You won't go completely insane. So along these lines, long ago, I did create a thing that I called Dysfunctional Family Bingo. And Liz has requested that I make a bingo card. And I made one, like it was
2 minutes ago.
Literally, we had 2 minutes before we turned on the camera. And so I made a bingo square. And then I did write bingo down the middle. But I don't know if that's actually how they look, because I've never played actual bingo. I don't know if it's supposed to go across, or Liz thought it was supposed to go this way. It's permanent marker. What could I do? So then you get your bingo card. You make a bingo card. You sit with your friends and you fill out a bingo card with your family culture's particular things that always happen at the holidays. So we have written in various squares, Mom becomes a martyr. There is a political argument. Comments about love life. Someone criticizes the food. Something gets burned or whatever. And then did we write down?
Somebody gets drunk. Somebody
dog.
Passive-aggressive attack on sibling. Across the top bingo, says Jennifer.
Okay.
Right. Thank you so much.
Liz was right. Of course, Liz is always right. But here I put a brand new one. Dog Humpalooza. It's the Humpalooza, and it just embarrasses everyone. And Gladys passes out in the soup.
And children misbehave in a way they never do. Like, like your kids who are normally so good, it's the one day you need them to be good, and they're monsters.
Yeah.
And that, you just fill in it with everything horrible that could happen, or that always does happen.
That always does happen.
Yeah.
The things that drive you the craziest are the things that you put in the bingo squares. It would be kind of fun if you want to type in your comments some of the things that you will be putting in your bingo squares, because it's always interesting. Every family has its own particular set of craziness. Yes. I wrote a book once where I talked about a family and their theme. I won't go into that because I got in trouble for it. But I started hearing stories from everyone about, this is what my family does. And there was this woman from Georgia, and she's like, peaches. All they talk about is peaches. Everything's about the peach crop, the peach pie, the peach dress. Everything is the peach festival. I'm going to kill them the next time I hear the word peach. It was amazing. So you fill it out. Then you show it to some friends. Look at mine, Liz. Liz will show me her bingo card. I will show her my bingo card. Then you go to the event.
Comments on weight and wardrobe.
Oh,
Yes.
that's always it.
Exactly.
That's always it. So you take the bingo card with you secretly. And when the thing happens, so Dog Humpalooza, we're going to cross that off.
You start to win.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dog Humpalooza. I got that. And then somebody criticizes the food. Ah, ha, ha. It's about weight and diet. Whoa! And then it's like somebody talks about your job. Bingo! I got bingo. So once you get bingo, you retire to the bathroom with your cell phone. You call your friends and you go, bingo! And then they have to buy you a lunch.
Yeah.
After Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So, yes.
I think it's brilliant because what happens is that the reason it's so perverse and subversive is that instead of you clenched in dread for the thing that you know is going to happen and then having that incredibly unsatisfying satisfaction of having it happen,
Right.
because there's no joy to be had in the satisfaction of I knew he was going to say that, I knew she was going to. No one ever got pleasure out of being right in that way, but you get pleasure out of being right when you get to mark it off on your bingo card and you win.
And it's like when you feel it going there, like, okay, Heather just got bingo. Like when you wrote political argument and somebody sits up and says, well, I'll tell you what's being done with our tax dollars. Instead of wanting to kill yourself, you go on. Because they're going to fill your bingo square any minute now.
It's so clever. It makes horror into a game.
It is. And I like to strike a more
Complaints
spiritual
on how
note.
the food is cooked or specific ingredients. Put it on your card, Joy.
Put it on the card. Put it on the card.
Can it be a drinking game too? In my family, it's always a drinking game.
Always a drinking game. I am convinced.
That's one of the bingo squares.
I'm convinced that the great creator of the universe has a massive bingo card and is up there going, go on. Because basically, we all get to go home and compare bingo cards at the end of life. Like, really?
What'd you get?
I got
I married 3 alcoholics and I was going to change them. What'd you get? Bingo, bingo, bingo.
Bingo, bingo. I got 3 incurable autoimmune diseases, poorly understood, destructive. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Yay!
I didn't really marry 3 alcoholics, guys. I was just playing a game.
But in your brain, you did.
Anyway, go on.
You would have if they'd let you. No, I don't know that. Do not repeat that. It is not true. Okay, so I thought we'd take questions about, just take questions early on. Ro is manning the question board. And with Liz's wisdom here, because she always says
It's
the best
called
things.
Wisdom, trademark.
Wisdom. TM.
I want to say one other thing. Any of you out there who are not spending the holiday with your family because your family is so toxic that it is bad for your health, I want to give you a kiss and bow to you and say congratulations for having the courage to do that, because that is a very brave thing to do, and I know it is very hard, and you are correct to do so. And I hope that you find people to be with, or even alone is better than being in a vat of poison.
Yeah,
So,
I spent a lot of years doing that.
Yes.
Till I accumulated.
Then there's
people I
getting
love.
to Thanksgiving alone when you have been separated from a family full of addicts and toxicity.
We both had the same. You know what? I have been there. I actually painted a painting to sort of anchor me in peace. I did a painting of Guan Yin, the goddess of compassion, which hangs in my bedroom to this day, because I needed to focus on compassion and love. And I painted like a maniac through the whole holiday. The pain of the first separation from my family of origin was so intense at the holiday that I needed activities to anchor me in peace and to remind me why this was happening, and to remind me that I'd tried to go back and I hadn't been able to, and maybe I spent a lot of years thinking I was a bad person because of that. And then I went to a spiritual teacher once and said, I think I'm a bad person because of this. And he was like, I don't see it that way at all. And somehow I started on a path to recovery. But so hang out with other people who've done it. So you can look at me and say, yeah, she may be weak and she may be an idiot, but she means well. I'm whatever.
I think it's interesting that you painted, because as we know, creativity is the opposite of victimization. So if you want to to me, any creativity is the engine of resilience. So do a creative thing on that day. Make something, which is the opposite of being destroyed, is to create, right? And and
absolutely.
then the other thing I would suggest, because you know how much, those of you who've ever done any work with me know how much I love letters to various aspects of the self. But I would start that day, Becca, by writing yourself a love letter, thanking yourself for having the courage not to go and sit in that family full of toxicity and addiction, and just the most beautiful love letter that you can, because it is such an act of love and grace.
And maybe you could even go on and write letters from, like, write a letter from love, write a letter from, like, Mary the mother, or Tara the goddess of kindness, or whatever it is. Write letters from members of a family that is yet forming. Because I remember seeing a thing that said, family is where you're always loved. And thinking, and then I realized I was thinking my family of origin had to be bound by some concept I had of love. And in fact, what it was saying is, find where you feel love. That's your family.
That's how come I'm here today, because I'm sick and I drove 2 hours to be in this family because I was feeling vulnerable and weak and I want to be with my family.
There you
This is my family.
Yeah, and this is our family too.
And everybody.
The whole gathering room is our family.
I would suggest one more very radical letter that you could do, Becca, which is to write yourself the letter that could never exist in this realm, which is from the most toxic member of your family, and they write you a love letter. Saying from their soul, not from their human incarnation, which could never, never, never do it because it's so damaged, but from their soul saying, oh, dear one, I am so glad you're not coming to Thanksgiving because we are so sick and we are so suffering and we are so broken and all we would do is hurt you because we don't know how to do anything else. But you just have to know that at this level, we love you so much and we're with you. And if we could, we would be, but we can't. So just stay where you are. Like the most impossible letter that could never exist. So that's a very bold one too. But,
cool.
Yeah. Create.
Make stuff. Yeah. Okay. Do we have another question from Donna? How do you remain playing bingo and stay as the observer, stopping the shoulds when you have a deep, lonely longing to belong into the family that has never welcomed you? Well, you watch the sad child, teenager, young woman, older woman, you watch her grieve and you watch her reaching out and you say, oh, she thinks they should be that. And oh, honey, all the shoulds are impossible. What Liz just said, you'll never get that letter. But once you say to the person who thinks that this should be that way, and you say, oh, sweetheart, that's impossible. So what shall we create? Then you let yourself out of the loop. And it's a very strong cultural, I mean, obviously from pre-infancy, you've been acculturated to think, these are my people. These are the ones who are supposed to get me. And if they don't, it's really painful. But when you stop thinking that they should, the pain gets less. And then creativity is possible. As long as you think it has to be with that situation, and it's never going to be with that situation, creativity becomes impossible. Do you have anything else?
The only thing I can ever do when I'm that lonely and sad and longing is to write myself a letter from love. I mean, I know I'm always prescribing letter writing, but it works so much for me. But I would say, Donna, that you sit down and you have love itself, capital L, love, the entity, write you a letter saying how much you belong to it. You know, how much you belong to her, to love. I love you. You belong to me. You're my child. You know, that so that you can generate that feeling of belonging towards yourself through the avenue of speaking to yourself from the place of pure unconditional love, because that is actually the only way to belong. You know, like once you can do that, then you belong in every room.
Yeah.
But you know, you don't have to do it this week. I mean, you don't have to achieve that this week. That's the ultimate.
Yeah, if you can't even find that unconditional love, sometimes I used to imagine someone that I saw as a great hero, an incarnated, compassionate being. I would have, I don't know, the Buddha come to the door, knock on the door and say, could I switch bodies with you for a while? And then I would go into the Buddha's body and the Buddha's consciousness would come into my body. And then I could find the unconditional love to write it down. There were times when I couldn't even find it. I had to imagine something else. But as you start working with imagination in these situations and always moving toward love from the self, it's not supposed to come from the surrounding culture. It comes from inside. And as you do that, your imagination expands and you become capable of accessing these states that Liz is talking about.
Because they can't give that to you, obviously.
So how do you stay in the present if the holidays bring up the memory of family members you don't want to remember? It sounds paradoxical. It is paradoxical, but you stay present with the terrible memory. So along with a holiday family bingo thing, you could put even the vivid memory of something you don't want to remember as something that you could, oh, I can observe that. I can watch that. And, when people go to the Byron Katie School, and one of the things she has you do is write down something you never want to experience. And then you have to get to the point where you can honestly say, I look forward to experiencing this again. And a lot of people are like, look, I was attacked. I don't ever want to experience that again. And how dare you say that? And what she would say is protect yourself. Never get attacked again, ever, ever, ever. But you're going to have flashbacks. It's going to come back in the mind. It's going to come back in the memory. So surround that with willingness. Don't think that it shouldn't happen. Observe how it affects you. And again, start to get creative. I love that victimization and creativity are on their polar opposites. So you're not even a victim of your own memories. Some of the most beautiful songs, the most beautiful art in the world has been made specifically about things that are almost too terrible to remember.
Yes.
Sad songs, sad paintings, and they become beautiful.
Yes. What she said.
Well, I mean, you've written those things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's make something. I know I keep saying it. Make something, and it doesn't have to be a poem or a novel or a painting. Make something with your hands. I mean, I think
toast.
Actually, the way that the women in my family have always survived Thanksgiving is actually by making Thanksgiving dinner. Weirdly, as much work as it is, it's the way that you get to not have to be in the middle of the table where everybody's like, the physicality of cooking is a good place to hide.
Yeah.
And just keeping your hands busy.
But if you don't like to cook and you have to, make up a dirty limerick in your mind while you cook. Like, make something, because I would always get consigned to, like, now you'll go wash the dishes, and I'd be like, yeah. And then you make up a dirty limerick in your mind, or a beautiful Italian sonnet, or whatever, or a little ditty, or a painting you're going to do later. Just, the mind is endlessly creative, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The moment you move into the position of creator, you are linked with the creation force writ large that makes the universe. And its job is to create beauty out of light and dark. So the moment you stand in its position, you're not caught in the dark. You're not struggling for the light. You're creating out of everything. And it all becomes weirdly joyful, or at least bearable.
And you know what? Do what you have to do to get through. Like, if it's truly torturous, there was a period in my life where there were certain people who I couldn't be around unless I took a Xanax an hour before I saw them. And I was doing my work, man. I was in therapy. I was in meditation. I was doing my yoga. I was running, like everything. And I was like, you know what? I am not yet. There was a gentleness toward myself in saying, I am not yet at a place in my life where I can sit in a room with this person and be able to breathe. So as an act of kindness to myself, I'm going to take a Xanax an hour before they come over, and I'm going to be a little checked out. And it's actually okay. Look, I'm not saying make this a habit every day, but
get some Xanax.
Difficult times call for,
seriously
outrageous measures. So I would say that. So that's the sort of compassion and gentleness to say, I can't achieve my Buddha nature. I can't even achieve my normal Tuesday morning nature in this situation. I actually need a little bit of a barrier between me and this person.
My Buddha nature is a horse tranquilizer.
And that's what I'm going to need. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Let's try not to make it into an addiction or a habit, but there's a recognition that there are certain instances in your life when the last month of Rhea's life, I had a bottle of Xanax, which I've never had, but I was like, I'm going to need this today, and I'm going to need this tomorrow because I actually can't do this.
Did we lose sound? Hello? Can you guys hear us? Could somebody put up a comment?
I think the audio just went very weird.
Are we still?
I think it's okay now.
All right. Okay, well, we better go on to the next question.
Go on to the next question. Now that I've told you all to take drugs. But I'm saying do whatever you need to. And one last thing, reward. Make a promise to yourself of what you're going to give yourself that's so lovely the week after Thanksgiving. And all you have to do is or the day after, you're going to get to buy a beautiful sweater. You're going to get to something so lovely as a gift for surviving something that is truly difficult.
That's really good. Then you
get a present.
Yeah.
You get a present just for getting through it.
Yeah. Or for avoiding it.
Yes.
You get presents no matter what.
Or for avoiding it.
Okay, so do we have, any tips on getting through Thanksgiving when your beloved has died, and this will be the first time without them?
Oh, hi, Laura. Hi, sweetheart. Oh, honey.
Over to you, Liz.
Oh, okay, so this is my first Thanksgiving without my beloved. And all I can tell you is I refuse to have a Thanksgiving without her. This whole idea of doing anything without her, I won't. So the way that I'm probably, there's a number of ways that I connect with her, but knowing myself and how I've been figuring this out over the last few months is that what I will probably do on Thanksgiving morning is leave her a voicemail message on my phone, which is something that I've been doing when I miss her a lot. And I just take like the voice, with like the voice memo aspect of the phone, and I push play. And I'll talk to her for a good, these phone messages lately are like a half an hour, 45 minutes long. And I'll talk to her and I'll tell her that it's Thanksgiving, and I'll ask her to come and be with us. And if the beloved of your life is also loved by the people that you're going to be gathering with, then set a place for them at the table. Don't pretend that it isn't happening. Do a prayer for them, bring a ceremony about them, light a candle, and have their dinner plate have a candle on it so that there's a living, vivid, warm presence of the person at the table. Bring them to the meal. I think there's some crazy idea we have that we're supposed to get over this, so you're supposed to not, no, bring it right on in. And if the people that you're with can't bear that because it's too heavy for them, then do it in a private space, just you and your beloved alone. But don't leave them out.
Yeah.
They don't want to be left out. They want to be there. They want to be invited. And you want them there. So I would absolutely refuse to even entertain the idea that this is a holiday without them. There is no holiday I will ever spend for the rest of my life without Rhea. Yeah. There's no regular day I will ever spend for the when she mentioned Rhea, the sound went crazy. Yeah,
we know these things happen a lot.
The shit that goes down around that.
Yeah. You're reminding me of a wonderful coach that I trained in South Africa, and she lost a baby, and she went to a doctor, and he said, you're grieving unduly because you haven't got closure. And he said, you have to imagine a ribbon between you and your baby's spirit, and you have to cut it with scissors. And she went home, and she was like, F that. And instead, she imagined thousands of ribbons unfurling, connecting herself with that baby. She said, I will not close that door. I will open it and open it and open it for the rest of my life. And that's when she started healing.
Okay, I also just thought of something creative that you could, and again, this is all creative. Lighting a candle and putting it on the dinner plate is an act of creativity. It's the opposite of victimization. Create, create, create. But I don't know where I read this or heard this, but there's a village in Africa where when one of the members of the village dies, the next morning when the family members wake up, the whole village has been rearranged. Everyone has rearranged everything that's outside of their houses. They've moved. Everything has been slightly moved in order to respect the fact that we understand that your world will never be the same.
Wow.
So the whole community, just like, so if your bicycle is always parked on this tree, they move it over to this tree. Just everyone moves something in order to say, we also say that the world will never be the same. So if you have customs that you always did with this person, maybe change it in order to reflect the fact that there is an aspect that will never be the same. So do something different about the way that the table is set to show that the world's been broken and we're still here, but it's different. And just as, Brene Brown always says, I don't know if she quoted someone else saying it, but keep your shadow in front of you where you can see it. It's the same thing with grief. Don't tuck it away in your pocket and pretend that it's not there. Bring it to the table if the people with you are willing. And if they're not, spare them, take your Xanax, and then do something privately later.
And when you say do one thing different, that actually brings up another thing. Even if you haven't lost a loved one, there's a whole branch of therapy where they just get people who are in negative patterns to do one thing different.
Yes.
So they say, and this, we have to wrap up pretty soon, but I think this is kind of interesting. If you know you're going into a holiday where you typically lose your crap, and maybe you're sitting there going, what is their problem? Our Thanksgivings are perfect. So whatever, I don't know why you're in this room, frankly.
They are.
But we love you and we want you to stay.
We can't wait to take your seminar on what it's like to be in a perfect family.
Yeah. But what I think his name was Donald O'Hanlon. He wrote this book called Do One Thing Different. And he said, have the same argument with your spouse. But at the moment it starts, you both have to put on a hat. But 2 hats, not the same hat. But like, yes, you can have the same depressed rant about how your mother never loved you, but you have to go sit in the bathtub fully clothed with no water. You just do one thing different, and it starts to shatter the pattern.
Yeah.
And the act of being the observer, or telling a friend about it later, or making a bingo card, or watching what Liz said, the gorgeous things she just said about Rhea, and you would not believe the electronic shenanigans Rhea gets up to. It's amazing. It's a whole different story. But yeah, go into it this time and let yourself go a little bit crazy, but do one thing different, and let the one thing be that you give yourself permission to be crazy and still be okay. Oh, thanks, so sweet. Oh,
We'll do the hug for everyone.
we're hugging everybody. We're hugging everybody. We're hugging you off.
Being hugged. Good luck, everybody in there.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Be good to you.
Be good to yourselves. Be good to your little hearts. And we'll see you next Sunday. Mwah.